It is not safe to connect your kids to the internet and have them in a position to be contacted by strangers. If your kid has a chat function where strangers can chat with them, every single police officer I've spoken with has said the same thing. They will 100%, no exception, be targeted for sextortion.
Welcome to Raw with Jay, the support we needed but never received. For every parent, human, and heart navigating life's messier moments. A space for real stories, deep emotion, and unfiltered honesty. This is for all the humans holding it together while quietly falling apart. The ones craving connection but exhausted by surface level advice. I'm Jay. I'm a family and child counsellor, mum, and founder of Happy Souls Kids. I've walked through heartbreak, loneliness, betrayal, identity loss, and the burnout of solo parenting, and come out the other side not polished, but more honest than ever. Every episode I sit down with therapists, authors, and real people, the ones who've walked through the fire and come back with something real to say. And in between, you'll hear raw, unfiltered stories of breakdowns and breakthroughs that have shaped me. There are no masks here, no sugarcoating, no 5-step fixes, just conversations that go there. Because sometimes the truth that you didn't even know that you needed is the one that sets you free. Hi everyone, welcome to Raw with Jay. Today we're doing things a little bit different because there's somebody that I want to speak to that I have been watching on Instagram for such a long time, and I send all of his clips to so many people. I think it's so important right now because of the social media ban that we've got going on in Australia. And his name is Ben Gillenwater, and he is the FamilyITguy. And I think we all need somebody like Ben in our lives, and guess what? Now we have it. So Ben, welcome to Raw with Jay. This space is about being vulnerable, and I think when it comes to tech, we need to be a little bit vulnerable and speaking our mind, as we were just talking about. And we love your opinions, and we love all of the things because I think it makes us as parents really think about what we're doing with tech, because it's very easy to think that the big tech guys are doing right by us, and we're slowly learning that they're not. So welcome, Ben. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. And I love the introduction based on vulnerability. I totally agree. And I think that is like a fundamental ingredient to the recipe for success.
Yeah. Well, I grew up with reading Brené Brown, so I've always, vulnerability and shame have always been really close to my heart. And unfortunately, they're not close to everyone else's heart. So I would be really vulnerable, and I've worked out over my life that not everyone can receive vulnerability. So that's been a bit of a learning for me. So I'm so glad that you accept that and you're here with me on the vulnerable space. So you've been in cybersecurity for 30 years. So can you tell us just a little bit of an introduction about you, because you are just such a fabulous man.
Thank you. I started as a professional in the computer world in 1995 when I was 14. Wow. And never stopped. I worked at a computer store when I was a kid and went on to work at different little IT shops around town, helping small businesses. Long story short, in my 20s, worked for a big American defense contractor. They made jets and ships and missiles and all kinds of stuff. And I helped run the data center for a couple of the fighter jet programs.
Wow. What an experience.
And that was really cool. My office was actually in the same building where they manufactured the F-18 fighter jet.
Wow.
And so on my lunch breaks, I could go out and actually watch them put it together.
Wow. And what age were you then?
24.
Wow. What an experience. It's so cool.
It was fantastic. And we built the very first types of drones, big drones. And when I was 27, I became the chief technologist for that same defense contractor. So they had a $10 billion IT business. So they did all the IT for the U.S. military and the U.S. intelligence agencies and a bunch of the U.S. state governments, as well as a bunch of commercial companies. And I was the chief technologist for that group. So I was the senior technical advisor across all of that. And that's where I got exposed to things that have really shaped my perspective on how the world works and how data can be used against us. And I actually worked with the NSA for a short time and got to get really close to how people get spied on by their governments without any constitutional approval or any public awareness, which I think could inform our conversation today about the social media laws. And after working with the government in that capacity, I went to work for BlackBerry for a while in Singapore, and I looked after their app store and their developer relationships in Southeast Asia. And then left there in 2012, became an entrepreneur, have started a bunch of companies since then. And all that to say now, I started in January 2024, focusing on how do we keep families and kids safe on the internet. So before I was helping keep, governments and companies safe. Now I help keep families safe. I looked around and there wasn't really anybody else doing it in the way that I thought it needed to be done. And so now I actually do it full time. I've stopped all my other work. I've shut down some of my other companies. I focus completely on this. And I think the time is now. And it's an extremely important thing to focus on.
And I think from parents like myself and all around the world, we'd like to say thank you for making that big leap, because we need you, Ben. We need somebody to tell us these things, because the more research I'm doing, it's scary. I've lived in a place of rainbows and butterflies for most of my life. And the more that I'm researching, the more I'm realizing, whoa, this is really big. And that gives us to two points, which I know we've spoken about briefly, is the 2 points that I really want to raise, and maybe we can do regular segments here because I know that you've got so much to share. But the first one is the social media ban, and the second one is Roblox. And I know that there's a lot surrounding that. And just to preface, I have a tech kid. He's extremely smart. He has an engineering brain. He sets up my podcasting equipment for me. His favorite thing is to pull his tech stuff apart and put it back together. And he is 10 steps ahead of me all of the time. He put a second facial recognition on my phone. I didn't even know you could do that. He did. And he's just a really smart kid. So from somebody like myself that needs to be on top of it, thank you. And thanks for being here. And let's start with the social media ban. So the social media ban has just been implemented in Australia for under 16s. It includes platforms like Snapchat, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. And so it's a bit of a mess at the moment, to be honest. Some kids are being pushed off, some haven't. There's a lot of neurodiversity. There's a lot of kids that use tech as self-regulation. And unfortunately, it's just a giant mess at the moment. And I'm sure it'll get better 3 days in. But I just wanted to know, what is your thoughts on a social media ban? Because, it's been implemented in Australia, I guess, as a trial for the rest of the world. So I'd love to know what your thoughts are.
My thoughts are that it's a very expensive trade for short-term feelings in exchange for long-term freedoms. And I think there are very important principles at play that are easy to overlook. And there's a couple ways I like to look at this. First, I like to ask, for everything I do and everything that I look at that others are doing, I like to ask why. So why do we want to keep kids safe? The reason we want to keep kids safe as a parent, so I'll just speak from a parenting perspective, what's underneath that, right? Safe is a means to an end, right? Safe allows us to continue existing and growing and being. So safe is not the end in and of itself. So why do we want to keep kids safe? Well, we want to keep kids safe so that they can exercise the most important thing they have as a human, which is freedom. And so for me, I want my kid to be able to freely express himself, to be able to freely move about the world, to be able to freely develop the relationships that he desires to develop, to be able to freely question things that don't make sense. I want him to have freedom of every sort so that as he becomes an adult and as he goes through his life, he can make the choices that he finds best for him. Which will almost never be the same choices that are best for anybody else. And so I think freedom is fundamentally important. And it's something that's all too easy to take for granted, because when scary things happen and people with lots of resources come in and say, well, I'll save the day. I'll help. And then there's a bunch of us that are thinking like, well, gee, we really need help, right? There's a lot of problems to solve. And well, most of us have no idea what to do about those problems. And these people on TV that have suits and sound really smart saying that they're going to help us. And to be fair, those people in suits may very well have good intentions. Like I'm not trying to,
I think, some of them, yeah.
Some, right? To try to give benefit of the doubt, let's just say they do. Let's say that every single one of them has good intentions, that we think that as bureaucrats and politicians and administrators of government entities, we think we can help. And we think we can help by preventing certain ages of people from accessing certain things. Now, how do you go about doing that? So what's just passed in Australia and what's being passed in many places around the world, including in different states in the United States, is let's see what their age is. Let's check their government ID or do like a AI face scan to see what their age is, and then that will be the gate. And it's a false premise. So the thing is, when you outsource your security to strangers, and more specifically, when those strangers are administrators of a bureaucracy, the nature of a bureaucracy is such that you cannot measure success of a security program. You can only measure failure. So the thing with security in general is there is no success metric for security. The only way that you can say that your security is successful is if nothing happens. So a security program can only really fail. Now, when we do our own security for ourselves and our families, we are fully accountable for the outcomes. And we have expectations and agreements of ourselves or our spouses or our kids and vice versa of what those outcomes should be and what we're trying to accomplish. And that if we don't achieve those outcomes, that's on us and only us. And then we can adapt and change and try again. When a bureaucracy fails to secure citizens, there is no accountability. There's no, like, if harm happens, it's still on us.
That's a good point.
So you can be fooled into shifting what you feel like is shifting the responsibility, but that's not true. There is no shifting the responsibility of who is responsible for the security of you and your family. And a bureaucracy, because of the nature of a security apparatus that can only fail, what happens is that security apparatus can only grow. So you start in one place, you insert a wedge. So this new social media law is a wedge. You insert a wedge that says, okay, the government is now in our private business. And then next year, there's a new problem or another thing, and they go, well, we've already got the wedge. We'll just widen it a little bit, right? And then a year after, there's a new thing, and we'll widen it a little bit more. Next thing you know, we have to show our ID and insert our government ID into a database to do anything.
And I think that's what most people are worried about here. It's not about protecting kids, and the narrative around it is we need to protect the children and they need to be off tech. Like, there's no doubting that. We want our kids to be in nature. We want them to be how they used to be. There's absolutely no doubt in that. The question marks around it is the digital ID. And apparently on the 27th of December, we've got some more digital things that are being implemented. And a lot of people don't know about this. So it goes from just our kids' social media to our banks, to anything that we use online like Google, etc. And I think that's where people are really worried. It's not saving the children. It's more about the control aspect, especially after COVID.
Absolutely. And, aside from the principle of this being a flawed premise in and of itself, that some bureaucratic machine is going to protect your family, like that aside from the flawed premise, if we play along for a minute and we ignore the premise and we say, okay, there's this external entity that's going to come and help and save the kids. This is also not the right answer. Like, this doesn't solve or even address the problem at all. The problem is not what age child can access a dangerous digital drug. The problem is the digital drug.
Yeah.
So if you're going to regulate something, which again, I don't think the government should, but if you're going to, then regulate the problem. Actually dig a layer deeper. Continue to ask why. Why do we want to prevent kids from accessing this thing? You go a layer deeper. Oh, we want to prevent them from accessing the thing because the thing is dangerous, as demonstrated by, in the US, for example, between 2007 and 2019, the World Health Organization's mortality database has data in it that indicates that suicide rates tripled for children aged 10 to 14. And there's a graph on my website. If you go to FamilyITguy.com and you type in digital danger zone, that's the name of an article. There are charts and graphs that show that those suicide rates correlate to kids having smartphones that are internet connected with social media in their pockets. And so it's also fundamentally important to separate the problem from the solution. So everybody listening to this, I'm guessing it's fair to assume that everybody listening to this has a problem with 1 out of 5 child deaths being suicide, correlating to social media usage. That's a problem. Everybody's going to go, yes, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, but that is separate from what's the right answer, right? So just because the government brings a solution doesn't by default mean it's the solution. And this is not the solution.
So from your experience, what do you think the solution would be? Like, obviously, if we take the government out of it, my child doesn't play Roblox, for instance. I did a lot of research and he deleted it 2 years ago. And although I've educated him on why, and I think as a counsellor, I do believe that the education piece is the reason that we should be doing things with kids. Like, they need to know what the root cause is. Because if they don't understand the why of things, they're just going to go find other apps, other dangerous things in the deep states of the web that we have no idea about, because there's new ones that just pop up constantly. So, I mean, I've done a lot of research for my child, and when we moved schools, the first thing his friend said was, "What's your Roblox username?" And, you know, that creates isolation and a sense of belonging. And all I can do as a human with all the knowledge I have is to really explain to people what I've learned, and then they get to make decisions for themselves. And I personally believe it's in education to get to the root cause, to help kids understand, to work with the companies on the algorithms. Like, what do you think that we can be doing as parents, or what do you think is the solution? Is to keep kids off tech? Like, my child doesn't have a phone yet. He's asking me, he's begging me, he's also begging me for Fortnite, and I'm just, you know, resisting all of them. Yeah. What's the solution?
So, yes, education is fundamentally a core part of the solution. So we must start by acknowledging that this problem can't be gotten rid of. It's not going away. It's only going to get harder and more pervasive, and it's just going to get worse. So we can play whack-a-mole, and we can check people's IDs, and we can, you know, and we can say, oh, this platform and this technology and that, but no, that's reactive. It's not comprehensive. It's not constructive, and it sets kids up for failure. The way that you set kids up for success, which is my primary concern, that's my whole fundamental, like, why I do what I do, is how do we set kids up for success? Specific to the technology space, which is inherent in our world now, right? Like, so it's 3 things. First, we start with ourselves as parents. What is our relationship with technology?
It's a very good place to start, and I'm the worst at this, and I'm in this space. You know, I will say to my child, "Get off your phone," and he's like, "Well, why are you on yours?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm doing work,
what about
and
you?
You're just playing." He has a fair point. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, all right, fair enough." It's mirroring behavior, 100%. What we call. Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. Now, that's where the vulnerability thing is so key. That's why it was just a beautiful start to this conversation, because 5 billion people around the world use social media. That means that most of those 5 billion people are addicted to the dopamine waves that these technologies drip and take in order to keep us hooked so that we can see more ads. This is normal. I say this because it's also normal for shame to be attached to your screen time numbers. If you look at your screen time numbers on your phone, and there's an irony here where the phone will tell you how addicted you are, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you look at your screen time numbers and you say, okay, of the things that are trying to addict me, that are built by the world's best addiction experts and the world's best technologists who work hand in hand to keep us hooked, how effective have they been on me? Now, the answer is very, right? That's normal. It's okay to feel shame, but we're all in the same place. And so it's also okay to sit back for a minute and think, do I control my technology or does it control me?
Totally controls
and what,
me.
100%, it controls everything, right? And what story does it tell my kid when they watch it control me? Can I be driven as an individual to change the nature, to change the dynamic of the relationship and fight that thing, which is the very, very, very difficult fight, and say, you know what? Okay, sure. Maybe I do feel shame when I look at my thing and it says that I spent 4 hours on Instagram yesterday, right? What if I am realistic with myself and I say, okay, look, that's normal. I'm going to approach change in bite-sized pieces because that is the way to approach change. The human nature is such that cold turkey doesn't work for most people. So let me actually reduce that number from 4 to 3.5. Let me do 3.5 for the next 2 weeks and see how I go. Oh, you know what? I don't feel any different, actually. Or maybe I feel a little better, but I'm certainly not missing anything. Now let me go down to 3, 2.5, 2. 3 months from now, I'm down to 1 hour a week or 1 hour a day. Anything that's better than where you are now. That is where it translates directly into the education piece. Because while you do that, your children and your husband or your wife or your friends can help be very constructive accountability partners where you say, but most importantly, your children, this is what I'm doing. Look, see my 4 hours? Next week, my goal is to take that to 3.5. Let's check in on Wednesday. I'll tell you how I'm going.
My son does this with me. He looks at my screen time and I find myself making excuses. Well, I watch podcasts on Instagram, so that's why it's so big. Or I watch this and
Right.
I'm completely making excuses and I know that I'm doing it. Talking about being vulnerable, like my screen time is horrendous and sometimes I'm so embarrassed and it's the guilt and shame that's around it. And he calls me out because he's an analytics kid. I'm not. I'm an emotional-based human. And he looks at the analytics and he does call me out and I'm just like, whoa, okay, all right, that's triggering. And I think that we need to address that. You know, I do. Like yep, okay, you're right. And I have to agree with him. Our kids are our biggest teachers.
I mean, absolutely. And then you tell them why. Why am I trying to reduce the number? That is the education. That is an opportunity for a beautiful conversation and a very, very important education. Yeah. So that, how old is your kid? You told me, but 11. I don't want to say it out loud.
He's 11.
Okay, just in case you didn't want to share that or something. But so your kid's 11, 7 years time. He's like legally an adult, right? So we tell them why. We take the opportunity to educate them on why. And now instead of playing whack-a-mole, they understand the underlying game. What's going on here? Some of these technologies are trying to take advantage of me. They're trying to consume as much of my attention as possible because we are in an attention economy. And so these things that are posed as free, they're actually not free. I have to exchange my attention. What does that mean for my mental health? How do I feel when I use these things versus when I don't? So that in 7 years' time, when your son is an adult, and let's say he goes off to university or he goes and gets an apartment, and now he's really on his own. He has to navigate these technologies, right? So now he's superseded the age of the government mandates. He's over 16 and he's in it. He can only try to survive and succeed in that environment based on the behaviors that you showed him and the lessons that you taught him and the community that surrounds him. Those are the answers, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love it. Now, the next one we want to talk about is Roblox. There's some statistics around Roblox that I want you to talk about because a lot of parents think that it's safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some really dangerous things, grooming, pedophilia, and my most frustrated thing at the moment is I don't agree with the ban. I think it's a Band-Aid fix, but why are we not including the platform that is the most dangerous?
Yeah, right. And that kind of tells you about how incomplete this is as a solution. So just to establish kind of what Roblox is for people, Roblox is either the most popular game or one of the most popular games right now on the internet. In November, they released some statistics that they have 112 million daily active users.
Wow,
so 112 million people that play the game every day. 40 million of those people are under the age of 13. Roblox is actually like game development platform. So the games that people play are built by other players. And so some of them are very popular and some of them are not. And there's some in the order of, there's millions, I can't remember the exact number, 40 or 60 million games in Roblox. And so whenever a game is built, the game developer submits it to Roblox so that it can appear on the platform. And they have to say, what's the age rating of the game, for example, so that Roblox can determine which players can play the game. And that age rating system has been demonstrated to be ineffective to the extent that I played Roblox. I wanted to learn about it, so I went and played it. And I registered as an 8-year-old boy. And then I hooked up my parental account. I created 2 accounts, one as a parent, one as a kid. I hooked up the parental account. I hooked up the parental controls. I turned on all the maximum restrictions. And then in the 8-year-old profile, it let me play this game called Public Bathroom. And I'm dropped into this world where it's like a big indoor pool. And I'm walking around the pool, and around the edges of the room around the pool are beds. And there's characters humping each other on the beds and like making sexual noises. And so
and you're
here
an
I am.
8-year-old. You're 8.
8 with maximum restrictions turned on. And I have there's a recording of me playing the game on my TikTok channel. If you go back and look through my videos, you can watch me play this game and you can hear the noises. There's some fairly some of them are kind of loud and disturbing. And it's so, okay, so I walk around and I see all this stuff. And then I walk into the bathroom area, and there's like bathroom stalls and there's bathtubs. And people are going in and out of the bathroom stalls together, and people are going in the bathtubs together and closing the drapes and humping each other in the bathtubs. There was another game it let me play called Rob Mom, where it drops my 8-year-old character into this big building. And there's a thing up on the screen that says who the wealthiest person is, and is indicating that we need to go kill that person. We need to go kill the wealthy people. And then I get a gun, and I'm walking around in the game, and there's an Apple store, and I go shoot the Apple store employees, and then the cops come, and then I shoot the cops, and then they shoot me, and it's like very violent game.
Why
for an
were you
8-year-old
given
boy.
a gun? Like, where did the gun come from?
It's just, that was there. It was there for me to take. So I was like, all right. I mean, if I'm actually putting myself in the shoes of me being 8, like I'm taking that gun, I'm going to go play with it and shoot some, especially in a video game context.
And did it ask you to shoot the employees? Did it kind of lead you there?
No. They were just, it didn't ask me to, but it was the purpose of the game was to go around and kill people.
Oof. That's a lot.
And I mean, certainly to each their own, and like every family has their own values, but like for me, I don't think that's appropriate for an 8-year-old. I don't think
that's appropriate for a 16-year-old.
Right? Exactly. I mean, that's exactly. And so there's another game. One of the most popular games on Roblox is called Dress to Impress. And it's one of the first games that's suggested when you sign up as a new user, including apparently as an 8-year-old boy. It puts you into the body of what looks like a little girl figurine that's wearing underwear. And then you go around and you pick out clothes and you dress up, and then you see, you compete with other players of who is effectively the sexiest. And
you were still 8?
Yeah. So now, again, I'm picturing, okay, if I'm an 8-year-old boy and I get dropped in and now there's this little girl wearing underwear, and then there's all these other characters wearing little like skimpy clothes and then posing and then rating each other, and again, like different family values for different families. But like, that's just for me, that was disturbing. I just don't think that's a very respectful way to teach a boy how to think about girls, let alone teach girls how to think about themselves. That like there's value in rating your sexiness if you're a young girl. So, okay, all that to say, the filtering system is ineffective.
The Guardian here in Australia wrote a big article on that and just how dangerous it was. Like, we've had Bloomberg write articles. We had a double-page spread in the Herald Sun that my son and I were featured in. We've got CNN. There's been so many articles written about the dangers of these, but parents just seem to ignore it and think that it's safe because whether their children are addicted to it, or a lot of people say that they just use private servers. Does that help if they're on a private server, or what happens there?
Yeah, private servers are definitely a lot better than the public ones.
But they can still use those particular games that you were just talking about?
I'm actually not sure. I haven't tried a private server myself, so I don't know. I know one of the most important parts about a private server is that the chat function, like you can't chat with strangers. So there's 2 pieces to Roblox. There's 2 very like negative pieces. There's the inappropriate content that we've been discussing so far. And then there's the contact with predators. So any place where there's millions, in this case, 40 million children under the age of 13 gathered in one place, it becomes a magnet for sexual predators. And Roblox, as a result, is one research firm called it a pedophile hellscape. And it is where predators hunt for kids. And to the effect that it's one of the biggest channels for sextortion. And the sextortion statistics.
Could you just explain what sextortion is for people that aren't aware?
Sextortion is when you get somebody to, most often, take a sexual photo of themselves and send it to you. So you trick them. You say, like for a kid, let's say, hey, I'm a kid too, and we're on the internet, so you can't tell that I'm not. And I think you're really cute, and I think you're really great. And here's a picture of me. Can you send a picture back? And then a lot of times it works, and they do. And one of the biggest targets for this are teenage boys. But
is it called 764? Is that what the whole area is called?
That's actually a whole different thing. So 764 is a self-harm cult. Let's come back to that if we have time, because that's a very important thing to discuss, but it's a separate thing. The levers are similar in how people get trapped. But so sextortion is where an adult, in this context, an adult tricks a kid into thinking that they're a kid and that they're friends and that maybe they're boyfriend, girlfriend, and they get them to send a sexual photo. And then once they have the sexual photo, then they extort them, they blackmail them. Sometimes for money, sometimes to get them to do stuff to themselves and to film it.
And by the way, this is happening at schools in Australia and some of our private schools that people would never have any idea about.
It's a globally pervasive problem that's occurring at a scale. So I'll give you an example. I'll give you some numbers from the U.S. There's a cyber tip line in the U.S. operated by this group called the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And it's called 1-800-THE-LOST. And if you get sextorted, you can call them and they'll help engage the FBI and they'll help you get your pictures taken down from the big tech companies' servers. Now, that one tip line, just in the US, in 2023, they got 187,000 reports of specifically adults sexually exploiting children.
Is this just on Roblox or any platform?
Overall. Oof. This is across. Yeah. So 187,000 in 2023. In 2024, that number increased to 546,000. In 2025, we're about to finish the year at 1 million. So this is a very big problem. And I give the numbers to help people understand that it is not safe to connect your kids to the internet and have them in a position to be contacted by strangers. And that really sucks, because there's also lots of friendships and hobbies and wonderful things that come out of meeting people. Unfortunately, there's two types of attacks that happen here. There's your sexual deviance and there's your criminal networks. All the biggest criminal networks in the world have shifted focus to this. So they are automating the hunting of children. They have scripted how to get them to provide the photos so that they can be blackmailed. And then they blackmail them for iTunes gift cards. This is happening with criminal networks in Latin America, in the United States, in Europe, in Africa, and in Asia. It's made it so that if your kid has a chat function where strangers can chat with them, every single police officer, including people that work on the Internet Crimes Against Children task forces in the United States, and a police officer in Australia that I spoke with recently, every single police officer I've spoken with has said the same thing. They will 100%, no exception, be targeted for sextortion. Now, it doesn't mean they'll be victimized, but they will 100% be targeted. So this is not a situation where you can connect your kid to a thing that has a chat function and hope for the best. It's not it's not going to happen to me. It will. And it's very important that people don't take that for granted. This is such a big problem. It's driving a lot of these laws, right? A lot of the political reactions are coming from citizens who are just freaking out because they don't know what to do, because like so many kids are being affected by this in every country on the planet. And so it's a really big problem. And Roblox is a massive vector for this to occur. And they are not acting in good faith. The CEO of Roblox, David Baszucki, is not acting in good faith. He and Roblox collectively have, they talk about they've turned on all these AI systems, and they've made 100 different changes to their safety systems this year to very little effect. And all they need to do is one thing,
turn off
a
chat.
whitelist mode.
Yeah.
Well, turn off chat and have a whitelist mode where the parents can approve in advance the specific games that their kids can play.
But they're not
they have not done that. They're not going to do that. And so Roblox is dangerous for kids. Roblox is for adults. Should not let your kids play Roblox.
Well, since the social media ban, the thing is that facial recognition, and I don't know about you, Ben, but a platform that has pedophiles, and I know that Discord had facial recognition and they were hacked. So I wouldn't be giving my child as photo to a platform that houses pedophiles. It just doesn't make sense to me. But, you know, people think that the media will say that something's safe and it's not really safe. Now, Ben, we have run out of time here, and I could talk to you forever because I just think you are so wonderful. And maybe we could make this a regular thing, especially for Australians, where there's so many questions that we have, and we've only just touched the surface today. Because I didn't know about any of this until I started researching, and now I'm started to, use my voice to let people know. And I've got parents everywhere contacting me saying, thank you for letting me know. And other ones are like, I don't want to know. I just want my kid on Roblox because it keeps them quiet. And I think that the more awareness and the more things that we can talk about, the more people are aware of what is going on out there. And it is scary, and it's a yucky conversation, and it makes you feel really uncomfortable. But I think that's where the vulnerability comes into it, that you've got to know these things. And, it was even suggested to me that Roblox isn't even in the ban because maybe there's some FBI things going on behind the scenes. Like, we just don't know what's happening. But I am doing everything I possibly can to get Roblox included into the ban. I don't agree with it, but let's include the number one platform that is would you say the dangerous platform out there, the most dangerous?
Outside of social media, like Snapchat and Roblox are right up there. I'd put Roblox is certainly sits on the podium.
Yeah, beautiful. Hey, Ben, thanks so much for coming here and for bringing your voice to Australia. We appreciate you and everything that you're doing, and please keep on going, and thank you for making that leap off all your other businesses to just focus on FamilyITguy. We think you're amazing, everything that you do. I know that I had a conversation with you the other day, even Fortnite. You've got some things on your website to be able to help parents to make things safe. So you've got little courses and with our screens, and I know we talked about a bark phone not having internet on there. So you've got lots of different things. So please go over to FamilyITguy. That is Ben's Instagram. I'm sure that's Facebook as well, TikTok. And he's got some really great suggestions to keep us safe, because we need to be on top of all of this stuff. I know it's uncomfortable, but please just do your research because it's really important right now. Thank you so much, Ben. Sending you so much love over there from Australia. And hopefully we'll speak to you again soon, because this has been wonderful.
Lovely. You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks for being here. If you're a parent, carer, or somebody walking alongside children in this wild world, come visit us at Happy Souls Kids, a platform we created to give kids the tools that we never had and offer parents the support that we've so often had to figure out alone. Can you imagine kids had the tools that we now have as adults? That's the work that we do. Until next time, keep showing up, keep feeling deeply, and keep finding your way home to yourself. Love, light, and gratitude, Jay.